Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump, and I appreciate your comments and your emails. It lets me know what you're thinking and the types of things that could be a benefit for us to discuss in these forums. So please keep them coming. I recently did a post on what came to be known as starter husbands, starter wives, and I got some very interesting comments and observations and thoughts about it. One gentleman who must not be named um, said that he thought it was a good idea for people to have starter relationships, that they should live together for a while and see whether or not the relationship works, and if it doesn't, go their separate ways. Well, I kind of feel like that's the de facto way we are behaving in the world today. I mean, a lot of us, not all of us, right? Um, and other people said they got into poor relationships at the beginning, or like their first relationship was a poor choice. And I completely understand that. Often, most people are making poor choices in the beginning. We are, because we don't have enough world experience, life experience, to know what would be good for us and what we might enjoy and what might stay with us for the long term. So yeah, that's what happens. It's almost de facto. We end up doing that. Let's not call them starter wives and husbands. Let's call them starter relationships, where we learn how to get along with other people and learn what we want and develop from there and find that partner or create that relationship that we're looking for. Most often, I think successful relationships are created, not necessarily born. I said this in a previous video. One lady I was talking with told me once, she said, I think the way to do it is to find someone you love and fix all the rest. That makes a lot of sense. It really does. And I would say in previous times, and maybe it's a good way to go, often really, really fine relationships start by a couple getting married young, but they have to be the right two people together. I'm not just saying anybody, someone who graduated with you in high school and you marry that person. I'm not saying it could be just anybody, but somebody who's you really care for and want to spend your life with at that point in time. And we know we're going to have problems. We know we're going to have differences. We know things are going to happen, and we're going to argue and all that. But over time, if we marry young, we work all that out, and that person becomes our partner. That's just the way it is. That's not my partner. It's not necessarily a husband or a wife. It's more than that, right? It's the one I'm going to see life through with. It's a whole different thing, right? So yeah, if we can do that, find a good person or a person that's good for us early in life and form that relationship and see it through, the relationship grows and develops and becomes deeper over time. And that's a wonderful thing for people who are that lucky, right? In the meantime, what do we do with all the rest of us who didn't find that right person when we're at an early age, right? We usually end up stumbling through relationships. So why do we marry when it's not right? Oftentimes, people marry because of it's a time of life. I think I mentioned that earlier. I saw it often. Women who were graduating college, with their undergraduate degree. Well, the next step in life, the next phase, was to get married and have children, start a family, and do all that sort of what we used to call natural thing in life, right? That was the purpose of life, women have told me. The purpose of life is to have children and raise them up and send them another generation into the future, right? Because we can't go. We keep sending our offspring, our progeny into the future, and that's how we exist through the long term, right? Is sending our family through for us. I imagine that's an idea that a lot of people hold, and that's not a bad way to go. Should we just move in with people? There's a lot of legal motivation for doing that. And what I mean is that when you marry somebody, if it ever came to be that you would retire, you'd only get one Social Security benefit, right? Oftentimes, your benefits are decreased from the two people who are working down to one. Usually they take the higher income and you get the benefits from that. But the income of the lower income, you'd get nothing from that. And that is not fair to the people who do it. So people who don't marry can gather both of those incomes. I remember a couple They went to a pastor. I may have mentioned this to you before. And they went to the pastor and said they wanted to get divorced. And the pastor said, "Why do you want to get divorced? You love each other. You've had family. You got grandkids." And they say, "We want to get divorced because the government is stealing our retirement money, right? And so if we get divorced, we don't get one check, we get two checks, and we need this money to get through because times are tough. The government punishes someone for being married, right? In addition to that, um, your taxes are higher. As a married couple, I'm told that the taxes are higher on married couples. Now, if we got any tax people out there, please write and let me know if that's true or if that's not true. All I know is anecdotal evidence from people telling me that's what happened to them. They were taxed higher because of their marital status. Not a good thing. The government is promoting people not being married. So, back to people living with each other. If the relationship doesn't work out, someone can just simply pack up and move away. There are no legal ramifications and no financial issues to be dealt with if you kept your checking account separate like that. You can just walk away. Maybe that's the way it's going to be in the future, because it is really, really hard to have that old ideal of marry someone, stay married for life, till death do us part, and raise children and like that. I'm not in favor of that at all. In fact, I don't think it's a good way to go. But that's just me and my old way of thinking. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. Forgive me, I seem to have year-round allergy or something, and sometimes I get to cough, and I apologize. Um, what are we talking about? Yeah, you can walk away from a relationship if you're not legally bound to that person, and maybe that's the way it's going to be. I don't I'm not yet convinced that that's the best way to be, but maybe it's the way we're going to have to be with the way that culture and the world is changing. I mean, I certainly hope not, but marriage is going to have to adapt in some way if it's going to survive. And by marriage, I mean family. If we're going to have mother, father, children, and like that, if it's going to survive, we're going to have to adapt to the changing times because things are tough. Folks are in cultivated societies are wanting to have fewer children because they think the earth is populated, right? Go forth and populate the earth, and people say, well, it's populated. We don't need to keep doing that. So they have fewer children, replace themselves and nothing more. We're going to have to accommodate all that. And with the current financial state of this culture, people are taking things into consideration as to how much can be afforded. Excuse me 1 minute. I do apologize for the interruption. I have to get these posts recorded on the weekends when I have time. My schedule is just too full. I don't have time to think usually during the day. And I'm often doing notes and filing papers and reports and stuff well into the evening. And by that time, I just want to crash. I don't want to do any more work. So I record these all at one time. And right now, I seem to be losing my voice. And I hope you can put up with that for that moment. And I thank you for your patience. Relationships. How is that going to be in the future? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. And I don't know what happens to intimacy. People seem to be extremely promiscuous. And for me, that's an issue. I've talked to people about this, and one lady told me, she said, everything has a cost. If you're out having physical relationships with lots of people, it takes something from you. I've heard this from many people, particularly ladies. They say it takes something from you. There's a cost to it. And that cost, the thing that has been taken away from you, affects the relationship that you want to have in depth and closeness and all that. And oftentimes, I wonder if it's hurtful for a partner, particularly a husband with a fragile ego. Don't all husbands have fragile? Never mind. But for someone to say, a wife to say, I did all these things, and then someone says, well, how'd your husband like that? And I say, oh, I wasn't with him. I was with somebody else at that time. I wonder how that affects the relationship, right? A lot of people are going to say, I don't care, but I sort of suspect there's something deep inside that still persists in the culture. 1 second. Thank you. I've told you before, and I mentioned again, I like old movies. I love old movies, especially movies that portray the human experience, right? Relationships show a depth to and give some understanding, a deeper understanding of human relationships and experiences in life between people. One of the many movies that I truly, truly love is a movie entitled Snow Falling on Cedars, right? There was a book by that title, and the movie was taken from the book. I saw the movie, I fell in love with it instantly, went out and bought a copy, and later on I bought the book, and the book was extremely disappointing. I was surprised that the filmmakers could make such a beautiful film out of a poorly written book, right? But the point is, there's a lot to it, and I won't bore you with the storyline, but I do recommend you watch the movie Snow Falling on Cedars. I just think, well, for one thing, it's the story of my life. It expresses everything that I've been through, then I found to be significant and deeply touching in life. But at one point, this woman, she's a Japanese young lady in an internment camp in California. She's up in Manzanar, by the way. I visited there once. That's another thing I'll recommend. Go see Manzanar. Drive through there. Get out and walk the land. When I was there, I could feel the people, right? I'm not a spooky, but well, some of the people that we watch are spooky people, but I could really feel the presence, the energy of people that live there and what they went through. But anyway, at one point in the movie, this young lady is an inmate in Manzanar at a war relocation camp, and she meets a young man, and they decide to get married. These are Japanese people, Japanese couple, right? And so on their wedding night, the husband, the first time he's lying in bed with his wife, right? And before they do anything physical, he says, "Am I your one and only?" And she says, "Yes, you're my one and only." Well, she was lying. But why did she lie? Because she knew the significance of the question, and she knew what harm a negative answer could do to his pride, his ego, and their relationship. She lied. And what that says to me is there's something important about that act of intimacy, right? Something that we can't just blow off and say, yeah, whatever. I don't care who you've been with, and I don't care, all these stories and all that. Well, that may be true, but that doesn't mean we want to live with it. Doesn't mean we want to hear it over and over and over again. If you've watched any of my previous posts, I told you told you the story of the lady in the bikini with the tattoos. You might want to go back and check that one out. I think it does affect a relationship. And I've told this to many people I've talked with, friends in particular. I say, when I'm with the woman of my life, she's it. There is no other person in my life. There never was and never will be because she's it, right? And whether or not that's historically true, it is definitely emotionally true. There is no baggage back there, none. You are it. You are my other. You are my all. And that's the way I feel about it. I think it's important. I think it contributes to a healthy and a successful and a loving relationship. If I'm wrong and you want to disagree with me, please do so. There are lots of ways to be in the world. Not all of them are perfect or exact or right. It just happens to be one of the ways I think of things. And if you disagree, tell me how it would be better. Tell me how we could have a better relationship than focusing our all on the person that we love and want to make happy, right? So I even forgot where we started with. Um, but the whole idea is, how do you make a relationship? What do you think is going to be a successful way for people to be in relationship in the future? Should we abolish marriage and just live with people for a while? And yeah, the question comes up, well, what do you do with the kids, right? So if you live with someone for 10 years and you have 3 kids and then you want to split up, all right, now what? Does the husband have to hang around and provide child support? Or does the wife leave the kids with the husband and she provide child support? How is this going to work? Now, I've known couples and talked to them now who have remarried and they have kids from previous relationships, and they talk about the dynamic between the past partner and the current partner and what's going on in the current situation with the family and their children and like that. If you have children with someone, that person is in your life forever. That person is in your life for eternity, right? And so, how does that work with a new partner? How do we accommodate that? Now, I've known some, how shall I say, women who have had a lot of experience, and they told me that they felt that they should be honest with the potential partner, particularly a long-term partner, right? They should be honest. They should not hold back any secrets. And I say, I get that. And I sort of, they openly admit to anyone as to their experience and what they've been through. They say that my life is an open book. I'll tell anybody anything they ask about, right? And there is a good side to that, because then if the person who does that is genuine, and anyone who wants to enter a relationship with that person knows they are getting a genuine person who will tell the truth and be honest about all things, there's that, right? That's an advantage, I think, to any relationship. And as we get along in life, and if we can do that and be open with it, and the partner can appreciate it, that can lead to a good relationship later on, right? But oftentimes that works when two partners have lost partners, particularly if one became a widow and the other became a widower. That can work in that situation because there's no competition in a sense of in a day-to-day real life sort of situation. There can be emotionally, but that can be talked about, it can be shared, and it can be the basis upon which that relationship grows closer to better. Gets better by talking about and understanding what one has been through, right? So that's a possibility. What do you think is the way to go going into the future? Should we abolish marriage? Should we marry young and work out all the differences and build a strong relationship? Should we have starter wives and starter husbands and just keep going until we find that person? Or what do you think should happen? Right? I would truly enjoy and be educated by your thoughts and feelings about these things. Please share them. Put them in the comments below. Send them to me in a long email to counselorscouch101@mail.com. I always look forward to reading them because I learn and grow every day with every communication. And that is one of the blessings of the work I do, and greatly appreciated by all counselors. Ask them, they'll tell you. We get more from the people we talk with than they get from us. It's really true. So please, let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for stopping by. I look forward to talking with you next time.